Your microphones will be automatically muted. All the questions that you want to ask, please ask using the Slido. You have here the code to Slido, Agri-food 2026, or you can simply scan the QR code and you will be redirected directly to the Slido. During this info session, we will be explaining you the background of the call. We will be explaining practicalities, and after each presenter, you will be also able to listen to the answer to your questions. The questions you can post continuously during the info session. We will be selecting the relevant questions to the speaker who just made the presentation. If some questions will be left unanswered, they will be for later, or in any case, all the questions will be later posted in the Q&A section under the call. Next slide, please. We now start the session and recording will start now. Next slide. We will start with policy context of the call, then we will continue with overview of the call for proposals from the administrative point of view. Colleagues from the Central Validation Service will explain you the registration of participants process. Later on, we will have a presentation from the financial team on the financial questions, and at the end, we will also have time for questions and answers that were still left after the presentations. Next slide, please. I would like warmly welcome our colleague Helen Dash, Deputy Head of Unit Textile, Food and Retail from DG GROW, who will give you the background, policy context, and the scope of this call. Helen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So good morning to all. First of all, I would like to thank you for attending this information session and for your interest in the topic of this call. Next slide, please. So what is the political background for this call? We propose actually this action in the EU Life Sciences Strategy in July 2025. The overall objective of the Life Sciences Strategy is to make the EU a global beacon for life science by 2030. And one of the actions it proposes, a very comprehensive range of actions, is actually to explore a pilot to identify and exploit collaboration opportunities between EU biotech clusters across the EU, with a focus on supporting the scaling up of their startups as well as on enhancing their global industrial innovation standing. In the life sciences, you have, of course, it's applied to all sorts of sectors. It's applied to health, to food, to agriculture and fisheries, to bio-based environment. So there's a large number of potential synergies between the different actions proposed in this EU Life Science Strategy and the objectives of this call. But I invite you to read the Life Science Strategy, but I will not get into details today. Next slide, please. There is also the EU Bioeconomy Strategy, which was published on 27th of November 2025, and which proposes that the Commission will make technical support available for SMEs scaling innovative bio-based products. In particular, the Commission will support SMEs developing innovative products based on advanced fermentation, including for food and feed. So if we put on those two, let's say, political orientations together, we have exactly the scope of this call. So on the one hand, we realize, and we have expressed it clearly, that there is a need for actually scaling up the collaboration networks and the biotech clusters in the EU themselves. How can we do that? We will not relocate one cluster next to the other, but we can actually boost on the collaboration between those clusters with a view to actually creating, let's say, global clusters, which are maybe virtual in nature because they're actually bringing, let's say, 2 or 3 regions in Europe, but which are on a very big scale, and so which are on a scale which enables them in terms of competition competitiveness potential, in terms of innovation potential, to be at the level of the other global biotech clusters that are already existing in certain regions of the world, or which are emerging, like you see now in Asia. So that's the first global objective, is to have actually this structured collaboration, creating this virtual biotech cluster, where you have such a mass and a number of companies that is actually boosting and demultiplying the innovation potential. The second element in this global objective is to support them very specifically the SMEs, and which have a potential to actually scale up, which have a potential to develop production capacities, and to then market worldwide products which are very competitive. So there is first bringing all the actors together, and second, then in this global virtual EU cluster, bringing together those clusters, then look at really each SME which has a potential, identify the SMEs which have the highest potential, and then tailor the support that those will get for their scaling up, building eventually on the resources from other clusters in Europe, from other partners of the project. So that's the overall context. Next slide, please. So on the first objective, I explained to you, so that is about bringing together the biotech clusters from different countries participating in the single market program. So that's an element which is quite important. That's the first thing to do, is that you would look at the different partners which might be present a potential, so that you can create this consortium together. The second objective would be then to create a real partnership between those clusters and their SMEs, and with other relevant stakeholders, to reach this critical mass, and that's the partnership. And then to also develop, not immediately, but thinking about it, a mechanism which is really enabling a structured collaboration. Because it's not about, we're not talking here about an ad hoc action, which would lead to identifying just a few companies at a certain point. That will be when the project will be implemented. What we want to see is really that there is a strategy of the partnership which will be developed, and a mechanism which enables, facilitates the collaboration between the different clusters, and then facilitates also the identification of the synergies between the different companies and the different support mechanism over the long term. So we want to build something which will be a long-term, real, virtual, large-scale biotech cluster in Europe. Then the next objective is to provide the scale-up support to those SMEs. Clearly, it will not be possible with the budget that is available to support eventually all those SMEs that you would have in those different clusters which might present the potential. We will ask that you focus, you really identify the ones which are the most promising, and then to support them on two aspects, and that I will get into more details later. So first, you need to select them. That's the first thing, clearly. Then provide them support towards commercial production, also using eventually pilot facilities when it is they are the stage where it is both meaningful and feasible. And also offer them regulatory support, because we know very well that the regulatory pathways are always very complex for companies, and it is even more the case for SMEs, because they don't have the legal experts in their small companies that can help them on that. And also because we think, since, as I mentioned, what we want to see, that there is a long-term system, a long-term global partnership between the clusters, with structural collaboration mechanism, is to have eventually a few people who are really specialized in that, who have the knowledge of that, and which can be the first help, the first guide, and then towards the next steps also of the regulatory support. And overall, also an overall objective, which I have not mentioned at the beginning, is that clearly by doing those projects, we will actually, on biotech, we will actually also support strategic autonomy, sustainability, resilience, and food security. So the projects will have, those biotech projects will have to focus on advanced fermentation for food and feed. Why is, so next slide, please. Yes. So the reason why we will start with that is that we see that there is a very important untapped potential in advanced fermentation for food and feed applications in the agri-food sector. So advanced fermentation, it is important to see what we mean there. It refers to fermentation processes beyond traditional applications, including biomass and precision fermentation that use specialized microorganisms to produce targeted outputs. And there is a direct also a connection with the objectives that I just mentioned 1 minute ago, which were this strategic autonomy, sustainability, resilience of the food system, because we see that advanced fermentation technologies are also present a very high flexibility in terms of once you have the bioreactors, it can eventually be used to produce different types of food and feed ingredients. And this is something also which we are interested to look into, is to see how that could enable to also, for example, produce some ingredients in batches at a certain point, which are of a critical and strategic nature, and which could then be very important for the EU strategic autonomy and resilience. And the global geopolitical situation, of course, enhances this objective of wanting to actually improve this autonomy and this resilience, and beyond the sustainability dimension. So I think it would be very interesting in your proposals that you develop precisely, that you explain first, of course, what exactly you have in mind, and where, in which segments of advanced fermentation for food and feed applications you see that there is a potential. But also that this dimension of also of the criticality of the ingredients, and to what extent they could support actually food and feed autonomy in Europe. Next slide, please. So in terms of mandatory activities, so the first mandatory activity will be to develop a strategy. So once you have the consortium, you have the different partners there. The partnership identity is something which is going to be, also something which is going to be important in terms of global standing of the new biotech cluster, in terms also of attractiveness for companies and for talent, and also with time in terms of a global, let's say, guarantee that this is a company coming from, there is a company which is coming from a very innovative environment, and so it also would provide, yes, in terms of marketing, some added value. So as I have already said, you will have to develop then more in detail. It's already going to be in the proposal, but how the partnership will support advanced fermentation as applied in food and feed production. And there we expect to have a bit of a roadmap on how this could, you see that this could be working. So identifying the potential in general that you see, then identifying the strengths that you have in the different domains where you see that there is a potential, identifying the needs of what should be done to actually then exploit this potential, building on the companies and the long range that you have already, and the infrastructure that you already have with the different partners in the consortium. So we expect there to see a real needs analysis, which will identify also the conditions and capabilities required to first develop advanced fermentation production in Europe, but second also to maintain it, because in some cases we already have the infrastructure to produce it, or if we're going to invest in it, we need to see how over the long term we can maintain the production in Europe, because this autonomic dimension is very important in the present context, autonomy and resilience, and also sustainability. So how to maintain it, and eventually also we are very interested in see how this could enable to relocate some advanced fermentation production to Europe, because there are some key ingredients, strategic ingredients, and some amino acids, for example, or vitamins, where we see that we have lost production capacity in Europe. And it could be interesting from a strategic point of view to actually enable the relocation of those production capacities in Europe. Eventually, as I said, with some flexibility in terms of production infrastructure, be producing in batches different types of products. So the analysis should assess the structural enablers for this competitive industrial scale production in Europe. We know very well that, yes, for example, energy for the time being is at a certain cost in Europe compared to other parts of the world. So they're looking also immediately also into the potential of renewable energy for the collaboration with different partners on energy. So to look from the beginning at what the different aspects, we also not only the infrastructure itself, but also its operational costs, which can be, yes, calculated and controlled more precisely thanks to an overall strategy from the beginning. So this is something which has to be taken into consideration and also analyzed in detail. The skills availability also, look at the people that are already present in the different companies in the consortium, with the partners, and also attract talent. Access to finance also, what is the finances, that's what is the financing that you will need, and looking into also already at what you see in terms of different potential and where there is a gap which needs to be filled. It's all overall a strategic approach which will be for the whole consortium. Then the market analysis is also something which is crucial because you should look into what is also the overall competitive environment. So there is an open market. As explained, many of those ingredients we're seeing are very critical for Europe. So it's important that they are produced in Europe to be actually used in Europe. So there will be a market in Europe. So there you have to look into also what are the how you will end up on the markets in terms of pricing compared to what might be produced abroad, and also look there from the beginning into also the scale which is necessary for the production to be competitive, because we know that in most types of industrial activities, scale is very important, and when you are producing on a much larger scale, there are economies of scale which are can be from significant to very important. So therefore, we're saying that it's very critical that also you look from the beginning at that with a view to calibrating properly the ambitions that you have in terms of then later on supporting the activities of the companies, because eventually it could be interesting to invite certain companies to group together and then to move towards industrial production together if this enables a certain scale, which would be a condition actually for them to be competitive in the future. So this is, I think we should not, yes, forget those objectives when actually implementing all the rest of the project. Yes, the idea is that yes, it should also be with a view to identifying companies which have a real market potential, and then deploying all the different market support instruments which are also necessary for that purpose. And from that point of view, yes, clearly also the scale is of some importance. Next slide, please. So let's now move to activity 2, which is about the fostering the network collaboration and identifying the SMEs for support. So the first element is to build a network of partners, because I think, okay, it's back. Build a network of partners, because we see that there's clearly probably synergies between what you are already doing and what the SMEs that you will be selected will be doing, and different projects within the EU, or with different infrastructures which can be already existing within the EU. We have the EU has funded a lot of different initiatives which are relevant for the objectives of this call. And so we invite you to identify first other organizations such as other biotech clusters, business organizations, industry associations, research institutions, regional development agencies, and other EU and national initiatives in the agri-food biotech innovation, to see how you could actually leverage on those networks, engage with this broader stakeholder community, and build on those existing know-how and the existing infrastructure. So what we would like to see is that through this activity, also the geographical coverage of the project is extended in the EU as widely as possible, and giving particular attention to regions not yet represented in the consortium. So this will enable, we think, to actually also eventually tap into the potential, for example, of biomass availability in other regions, to diversify the risk, to build on existing pilot facilities, or in some cases, in some universities, which could be a very strong partners. So this is the first activity. Look into the potential, build this network of partners. The second step, the second sub-activity there will be the identification and the selection of the SMEs. So clearly, considering the scale and the importance of the consortium, which will be there will be a very large number of SMEs. Maybe a very large number of those SMEs will have actually an innovation potential and are interested to scale up. Yet, with the available budget, clearly it will not be possible to support extensively, especially if we're thinking about supporting the use, the access of pilot facilities, or the SMEs that there might be. So the first step will be to actually select the SMEs. So to I first identify the SMEs. It will be, we are expecting that there will be very important also communication activity towards the SMEs, building on the also a network such as the Enterprise Europe Network, and also the European Cluster Coalition Platform, to reach out to SMEs so that they can, that the SMEs which have a potential for the overall objective of this call, could will know, would be aware, and then could actually yes present their interest and yes, and ask to be selected. The next level, once you have all the list of potential SMEs, will be to do a selection of the ones which are the most present the highest potential for the overall objective of this call. So we expect that the proposal explains also the methodology which will be used for this selection. It's important also that all the SMEs from all the SMP countries will be treated equally and transparently. So this is why, yes, the methodology must explain it clearly. So if the methodology is clear, then we know that this is going to be under equal and transparent conditions. And also an important element is that in line with the objectives of the food pillar of the single market program, priority must be given to SMEs that make use of side streams, supporting a food waste reduction and resource efficiency. So also elements which should be kept in mind. Then the next sub-activity will be organizing collaboration activities. So this is, of course, regular networking, knowledge exchange activities. It's important there to build on the existing on the technologies and to do all our potentials of virtual meetings. But we believe that there should be at least 3 in-person networking and knowledge exchanges activities. Because it's like that also people get to know each other, and that facilitates enormously the collaboration. So we should organize workshops with technological experts from the partnerships, but also cross-border mentoring initiatives. Mentoring is a very powerful tool, and matchmaking events between their companies. Because even if at the end of the day, I will talk about that next on the support to SMEs, even if you will not be able to support in terms of scaling up and regulatory support all the SMEs which apply. Nevertheless, there should be a benefit and added value for the SMEs in question to be in this partnership and to be able to then meet with other companies, identify the synergies with other companies, so which could lead to joint project, which could lead to some merge of their projects to reach a certain scale. And also this mentoring dimension is something which is very important, and which can be eventually also facilitated by this cross-border dimension. There could be not necessarily a mentor which is particularly relevant for a very specific project of one of your companies, but there could be a mentor which is in another part of the EU who will be extremely relevant. And so through those collaboration activities, that will also enable this identification of the synergies and building partnerships between those companies with other entities. Next is the engaging SMEs through the entry level support. Even if beyond these collaboration activities, which are already a big bonus for the companies because it enables them to get partners, all those SMEs should benefit from an overall analysis of their market potential and what they should be doing. And so that means that it should be at least one individual advisory meeting per SME to discuss their challenges and to connect them with relevant contacts and opportunities. And so the proposal must describe how this SME engagement will be organized and implemented. Next slide, please. Then mandatory activity 3. So there we getting to the selected SMEs. For this SMEs which have been selected and which have the highest potential, and they need where you will deliver scale-up support and provide regulatory support. So the scale-up support that includes piloting, that includes process development activities always, of course, on advanced fermentation-based processes towards the next stage of maturity. And we know that this is resource intensive, this type of support. So we recognize that it could only eventually be delivered to a limited extent. but we want to really look already, see in the proposals a commitment there to provide a substantial access to the pilot facilities for multiple SMEs. So you need to look at the existing network of pilot facilities before drafting the proposal, see where you see a potential, and already how you would facilitate this access. So yes, the next, and then the next slide, please. Oh no, sorry, no, one slide before. Thank you. Yes, yes, it's here also we have the regulatory support. And on the regulatory support, so we know very well that it is complex for SMEs in general, not only in the agri-food sector, not only in advanced validation, but it is complex for all companies, but it is very difficult then for SMEs actually to identify, understand, navigate the applicable regulatory pathways in this specific domain. That is why we expect that there's also going to be some support provided to SMEs on that. Also building on what was proposed in EU Biotech Act 1, which foresees actually enhanced pre-submission interaction between companies applying and the European, the EFSA. So while these interactions will only be possible once the relevant provisions enter into force, the project can pilot key elements of this approach. And so we look forward to you identifying how this pre-submission, let's say, support can be boosted for companies, because the project would provide to a certain extent your experts, or you would identify experts which can provide this pre-submission advice to companies, because we see that it's often very, yes, it takes a lot of time to obtain the authorization from EFSA, but very often it is because the SMEs actually have not gathered all the necessary information in the files that they submit to enable the agency to actually, yes, assess properly the application. And so from that point of view, it would be very interesting for us that you look into what is necessary there, and that you identify in the consortium some experts on that topic, which will then be specialized on supporting this the finalization of the submission files for EFSA, and then to see what is necessary there, how it can be done, how you can help the companies to gather the necessary information, data, develop the eventual underlying studies, identifying the study, and then that this feedback is also provided to EFSA, because this is an important objective, is to actually boost the submission, the pre-submission advice, which would be provided at a later stage, directly to not by a project, overall, to companies who are actually proposing something for validation to EFSA. Next slide, please. Then finally, communication about the project and dissemination of the output. This is also important to enable also that this project, those projects serve as inspiration also for the improving the structured collaboration of eventually other types of biotech clusters. It's also about again the global standing and the long-term, let's say, image of the virtual biotech cluster that you will have been created to this project. And I think this is then it for the activities themselves. So next slide, please. This slide is presenting an overview of, based on what I just said, of what are the mandatory deliverables, so a comprehensive strategy document, a mapping of the potential collaboration potential, reports on the SME identification and selection, on the collaboration activities which have been implemented, on the individual SME support which has been provided. So detailed records of SME support, types and intensity of support provided, progress achieved, and outcomes. And there again, I emphasize this importance of for this EFSA pre-submission advice that you also provide feedback on how the best support can be provided to the companies with a view to them actually providing to EFSA a really well an overall file which enables its its analysis and its assessment as quickly as possible. So then also a communication and dissemination package and a progress report on the achievement of performance indicators covering every 9 months of the project implementation. Next slide, please. KPIs are directly connected to that. So the KPIs, so all proposals must monitor and report on as a minimum the following key performance indicators. So if you see that there are some additional key performance indicator, you can also, of course, present it in your proposal, but those ones have to be there. Also, the number of collaboration activities, such as workshops, webinars, and also knowledge exchange or network events, minimum of 2 activities. The number of participants in all collaboration activities in total, it's a minimum of 60 participants. The number of SMEs receiving entry-level support. So that was the overall analysis with a minimum of 30 SMEs. The number of SMEs receiving scale-up support, so that was including also eventually the use of pilot facilities, minimum of 3 SMEs. The number of SMEs receiving regulatory support, so really regulatory support to the extent that actually they can propose their file and they can apply to EFSA, for example, with a minimum of 3 SMEs. And the number of SMEs receiving support under activity 3 overall with a minimum of 10 SMEs. So it means that you have at least 3 SMEs for scale-up support, at least 3 SMEs for regulatory support. And so that's already 6. And then you have 4 other SMEs, which would then benefit from either scale-up support or regulatory support. Of course, you can also provide scale-up support and regulatory support to all those 10 SMEs. That would be absolutely perfect. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hélène, for setting the policy background, for explaining why this call is needed for Europe and what is expected in the call. In the meantime, we received several questions, but at the moment, we will only answer the ones which are relevant to the last presentation, to Hélène's presentation. Hélène, we have a question. Our startup has created a governance system that automates the production process of fermented ingredients, food and beverages. Is it relevant in the context of this call?
It could be relevant. So just is it about automation? I think we really have to look into more details. I think it's difficult just on the basis of this information to actually explain it. But it's not only about one startup. Again, the project, it has to be a consortium. So you have a number of different existing clusters which get together to create this global biotech expertise hub, which would have then a world scale size and standing. And then it is about boosting then the support to all the SMEs. So not to so it's not a product. The product is not going to be about one SME. And what I see there is there's one startup which so this startup could eventually be, yes, what it's proposing could eventually be relevant in the overall strategy. So that would be one startup which would be a very good, from what I see, candidate eventually for the SME selection or for the consortium which would be selected. And then depending on the methodology, they will have to select the best ones. Voilà. On the next question, financial sustainability is essential for this virtual cluster to succeed. Will be their future calls to support this initiative. At this stage, we cannot preempt what will be doable under the next the next period of European financing. We call that the next MFF. So we have presented a proposal for a competitiveness fund where, yes, the overall objectives could be, yes, are certainly going the very same direction. But at this stage, we cannot, yes, make any, yes, we do not know exactly what will be the available funding or in details how our political masters will decide and that it would be allocated to in priority to this or that. So we cannot make any commitment on that.
Thank you very much, Hélène, for your presentation, for giving us all the information why this call is important for Europe. Thank you very much for answering the questions. We will continue now with the next presentation with your questions. Just for your information, we received more than these 2 questions, but since other questions are not relevant to Hélène's presentation, they are left for later for next presenters. So don't be afraid, your questions are not deleted. They will appear in the right time. Thank you, Hélène, and I would like to invite our
Thank
next
you for your
presenter,
interest.
Martina Bacova, who will present the general information on the call for proposals. Martina,
thank you very much.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to all the participants. Happy to see such a high interest in this call for proposals. My name is Martina Bacova. I work as project advisor at EISMEA. This is the abbreviation that stands for the European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency. So this is the executive agency responsible for managing this call. Next slide, please. I'm going to present you a bit more technical information about the call, but equally very important, all the requirements that we have put in place in order to make all the activities work towards the objective of the call. So some call basics. The call title is the Agri-food Biotech Scaling-up. In this presentation, you will find a lot of links. It will be made available for you, so this you can use them and see all the documents I will be referring to. The call has also a certain abbreviation, as you can see here. We have a budget for this call of 3 million euros, and we would like to fund 2 proposals with this, with a project duration of 36 months. The proposals have to be submitted through the Funding and Tenders portal. And this portal is not only the place to submit the call, but it's also the place where you can find all the useful documents. So the call document, the questions and answers that will be published on this specific call, and also the templates, for instance, for all the annexes that are required. Important information is that I would like to raise is that individual applicants, so beneficiaries or affiliated entities, cannot participate in several proposals under this call for proposal. If an applicant is involved in more than one proposal, this entity, this organization will be rejected, and the proposals will still have to fulfill eligibility criteria. So it can become very difficult for a project if one of the project partners basically is involved in several proposals. Next slide, please. Let's go to the indicative call timeline, what we are planning. The call has been published on the 25th of March. The deadline is the 2nd of June, 5 o'clock p.m. Central European Time. Please keep this in mind in case you are in another time zone. This is a fixed deadline, so you have to submit before this deadline. We are planning the evaluation period in June, July, and the information about the evaluation results to all projects in August. So you will have the information if you have been selected or not. From August to November, we will be preparing with the selected projects the grant agreements and signing these grant agreements, and the projects are foreseen to start in December 2026. 36 months of implementation. During the implementation, EISMEA is going to do the continuous monitoring of the projects. This takes place via the continuous reporting. These are the deliverables. And also there is one periodic report in the middle of this period. So after 18 months, which is linked to payment. Next slide, please. Now I would like to explain a little bit about the different type of participants in this call that we expect to see. So we have the beneficiaries. This is basically the regular type of participant. Beneficiaries receive EU funding for the task execution, and there must be registered and validated in the EU registry. We will speak about this extensively a bit later on. Another type of participants are the affiliated entities. These are entities that have a legal or a capital link to one of the beneficiaries. Affiliated entities, they do not sign the grant agreement, but they also receive the EU funding. So they also must be registered in this EU registry. Affiliated entities do not count towards the minimum eligibility criteria of the consortium, which I'm going to mention a couple of slides later. Another type of participant can be an associated partner, which is not a formal recipient of EU funding, but also must be registered. Subcontractors, so a limited part of the budget can be subcontracted, never the core tasks of the project. Subcontractors should be indicated in the application form, and if the subcontracting is going over 30% of the total eligible costs, it has to be justified. For instance, what we understand on the core task is certainly the project management. So this is a task that should never be subcontracted. Finally, we have the third parties giving in-kind contributions, which are not formal recipient of EU funding. So proposals must be submitted by a consortium of applicants. I will outline how this consortium, what are the minimum requirements, let's say, for this consortium. And one applicant is appointed as coordinator of the consortium. So as I was saying, before the application, all beneficiaries, affiliated entities, and associated partners must be registered. You have here the link. They receive a so-called PIC, which is the participant identification code. Without this, it's not possible to be part of an application. Next slide, please. So what is the process? So when we receive the applications on the 2nd of June, we are going to conduct the admissibility check. This is like, let's say, a more standardized check to see if the applications have been submitted on time, if they are in English, if it had been submitted via the right means, via the funding and tender portal, and if they are complete. After that, we are looking into eligibility. Here we are checking the individual beneficiaries or individual applicants and the consortium. So this has to fulfill the eligibility requirements. Then we will be checking also the exclusion criteria, which is to the individual applicants on the basis of a declaration of honor. Is it there? Are there in any situation that would need an exclusion, for instance, like bankruptcy? Financial capacity check is conducted actually more or less during the grant agreement preparation. And there, colleagues from REA are checking the financial capacity of the applicants. It's called a financial viability check. We will have a thorough presentation on this. Operational capacity is checked together with the award criteria. And this is to see that basically you have the right staff on board that has the knowledge and capacity to perform the activities that you have outlined in your proposal. This is a big exercise of the evaluation where we are looking at the award criteria, and at the end we are presenting a ranking and eventually a reserve list. Below you have also the possibility to ask your questions. So this is an email where you can address all your questions that is related not to the IT part of the application process, but to the call itself, so to the topic and all these requirements. And these questions, as I was mentioning before, are also then published on the Funding and Tenders portal. Next slide, please. So what are the admissibility requirements? You have to submit via the EU Funding and Tenders portal. No paper applications or other means of submission are accepted. Deadline 2nd of June, 5 o'clock Central European Time. The applications must be readable, accessible, and printable. Here, please be careful because there are some templates that you have to download, convert to PDF, and upload on the Funding and Tenders portal. Please make sure that they are readable. For instance, the detailed budget table, because like double check that everything is properly displayed in your PDF. The applications must be complete. They are consisting of two parts. There is one part that is filled in online, and then there is another part that is basically the technical description of the project, which has to be downloaded as a template, filled in, and re-uploaded. This Part B has maximum 50 pages. Anything above that will be disregarded by the evaluators. And there are also annexes that go with this Part B. The annexes are the detailed budget table. Again, this is a template that needs to be filled in and re-uploaded. The list of previous key projects for the last 4 years. This is part of this Part B template. And an Annex 5. This is a so-called eligibility checklist. Please pay attention. This is an annex that is available on the EISMEA's page, not on the Funding and Tenders portal. Don't forget this annex, download it. And again, will have to upload it under the field Add Annexes. I will show you in a second. Next slide, please. So the electronic submission, the Part A, the administrative forms. This is the part filled in online. You will be asked general information, a short proposal abstract, declaration on behalf of the consortium, administrative data of all the participating organizations, and there is a table with a budget for the proposal, which is an aggregated budget per partner. So total estimated eligible costs, request grant in euro. On the top right of this slide, you see also how it looks on the Funding and Tender portal. So this is basically the submission button where you will access this Part A and also the Part B information. For the Part B, the templates, as I was saying, this is the technical description, which has to have maximum 50 pages plus the annexes. I mentioned that. Important for the annexes is that you take the correct template. So the detailed budget table is, you can see the name of the template that you have to use here with highlighted. That is the template that it says detailed budget table SMP-COSME GFS 90. There is another one, I think 75. You take the one with 90. This annex can also be uploaded as an Excel file. which is even the preferred format. But please check that everything is correct. Then the list of previous key projects, I said this is part of the Part B template, and the Annex 5, the eligibility checklist, as I mentioned before. Next slide, please. Here you can see the visualization in the submission system. So this is what you will see when you log in, you can see here you have to upload the Part B, the detailed budget table. You don't have to upload anything under CVs, neither under annual activity report, neither under a list of previous projects because it's Part B, but you have to upload the Annex 5 eligibility checklist under other annexes. On the top right, you also see the correct templates, again named, so is the detailed budget table 90 and the application form Part B. There should be no, there are no different templates for this. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the Annex 5 that you find on EISMEA's page, the checklist. So you have also the link on this slide. The link is also in the call document. It's very important in to submit this annex. First of all, because you have to submit a complete application, but second, also here you can outline how your consortium is tackling and fulfilling the eligibility requirements that are set in the call document. Let's go into detail of these requirements. Next slide. Eligibility requirements for the individual applicants. So applicants, which we mean beneficiaries and affiliated entities, as I said, affiliated entities with a legal or a capital link to the beneficiaries, must be legal entities, public or private bodies. Natural persons are not eligible. Must be established in eligible countries, so either EU member states or the listed EEA countries and countries associated to the single market program. Here you see there is also a link that leads you to a website that is listing all the EEA countries and countries associated to the single market program COSME strand that are eligible. And all applicants must be registered in the participant register, as I said, before submitting the proposal, so they need a PIC number, participant identification code. Next slide, please. Consortium. How should the consortium look like? So the proposals have to be submitted by a consortium of at least 3 applicants. Here we speak about beneficiaries, not the affiliated entities. So at least 3 beneficiaries from at least 2 different eligible countries, which comply with the following condition. At least 2 cluster organizations or cluster networks from 2 different EU member states that are registered or have pending registration to the European Cluster Collaboration Platform by the submission deadline of this call, have a proven track record of at least 3 years in supporting biotech SMEs in the food or feed sector. Also, you can include up to on top of these minimum requirements any other relevant organizations that are suitable for the implementation of your project. Next slide, please. What we mean by clusters is important. So what type of definition we use. Cluster organizations are legal entities that support strengthening collaboration, networking, and innovation, and channel specialized and customized business support services to stimulate innovation activities, especially in SMEs. You can see also here again the website of the ECCP, where you will have at least 2 clusters have to be either registered or having submitted the registration to this platform. Next slide. The financial capacity. So what are we checking here? We will have a thorough presentation from a colleague from Maria on this check. But here is important to see that the applicants have stable and sufficient resources needed to sufficiently successfully implement the project. So it will be checked on the basis of documents that you will be requested to upload basically after in the grant preparation phase. It can be different documents. You will be requested to upload your balance sheets, profit and loss accounts, business plans, audit reports, and the financial viability of the coordinator is a crucial point. So please select the coordinator wisely because it can create difficulties at the level of the grant preparation. Who is checked? So all organizations that are not public bodies and that they are requesting more than 60,000 euro grant are undergoing a financial viability check. And then there is a possibility to self-check. There is a tool that is also displayed here that you can do a self-check of your financial viability. But my colleagues will talk about this in detail in the next presentation. Next slide, please. Operational capacity and exclusion. So for more details, the relevant section of the call document is mentioned here, section 7. The operational capacity is a check on the know-how, the qualifications, and the resources in terms of human resources that are needed to successfully implement the project. This is going to be assessed in when we are assessing the award criteria under the award criterion quality, where we will look into the competence, experience, the staff profiles, and the description of your organizations and the staff involved in the project. The exclusion, this we will examine if applicants should be excluded. Then you have a list of situations where this might be the case in the call document in section 7. It's mainly related to bankruptcy, fraud, tax avoidance, and similar cases. Next slide, please. Evaluation procedure. So eligible proposals are passing to evaluation, which is based on award criteria. The criteria obviously are also mentioned and in detail in the call text. The evaluation committee is conducting the evaluation assisted by independent external experts. And at the end of the evaluation, we create a ranking. Each proposal is evaluated by 3 external experts, and all proposals are informed about the outcomes of the evaluation with the evaluation letter at the end of the evaluation period. And the successful proposals will be invited to prepare a grant agreement. Proposals that have passed the threshold, but due to the budget restrictions have not scored enough to be invited for the grant agreement preparation, will be put on a reserve list or rejected. Obviously, those that didn't pass the thresholds will be rejected. Next slide, please. Now, outline of the award criteria. Let me just check the time, but it's fine. We have 3 award criteria. The first one is relevance. Here we are looking about on the quality of the clarity and consistency of the project, the objectives, and the planning. So basically, this is to understand how you are addressing the objectives and priorities of the call, how your proposal contributes to the EU strategic and legislative context, is there a European transnational dimension, and how is the potential to develop cross-border cooperation. Next slide, please. The second award criteria is quality. This is subdivided under, to two different sub-criterion. First is project design and implementation. This is basically the technical quality of the project. So is it clear, are the links clear between the identified problem, the needs, and the solutions you are proposing? Well, so basically the logical frame context, the methodology for implementing the project, the procedures, the timetable, the risk management, monitoring and evaluation, and the feasibility of the project within the time frame. Also, please pay attention on the clarity and the consistency in the proposal, and the explain well the rationale of the proposed support to the SMEs. Here we also check the cost effectiveness. So is the budget sufficient? Is it appropriate for proper implementation? And is it the best value for money that you are proposing for the activities you would like to carry out? For instance, this sub-point, you can receive maximum 30 points. I forgot to mention that for the relevance, you can also get 30 points. So back to the quality. So first sub-criterion, 30 points. Second one, we look at the project team and the cooperation arrangements. So to understand the quality of the consortium, the appropriate procedures for problem solving, division of tasks between the consortium, the cooperation mechanisms within the project team. Here again, you can get maximum 30 points. Next slide, please. Last but not least, impact. This criterion is checking how ambitious, but how credible is the medium and long-term impact of results on the target groups of your project. So how is the impact on the European SMEs that are benefiting directly from the action? Is it appropriate? Do you propose appropriate, objectively verifiable and achievable performance indicators to measure the project outcomes and expected impact? Is there an appropriate dissemination strategy to ensure the sustainability and the long-term impact? And in general, how is the sustainability of results after the ending of the project, of the EU funding? Maximum points 10 for this criterion. Here you see also the table per criterion, the minimum pass score and the maximum scores I just mentioned before. In order to succeed, you have to reach the minimum score per criterion, as well as the overall minimum of 70 points. And the maximum, you can reach 100 points. Next slide, please. So key elements, maximum grant amount per project, 1,500,000 euro. This is the grant. Project length, I already mentioned. The previous speaker mentioned all the mandatory activities, all have to be covered. The KPIs, again, all have to be covered. The mandatory KPIs have been presented before. Please propose additional KPIs to demonstrate the success of your project, but all the mandatory have to be there. Mandatory deliverables also all have to be covered. To the KPIs, sorry, just so to be precise, so there are the call indicators and there are 3 mandatory single market program indicators. So just that you don't forget any of those. Then I already mentioned the rule that individual applicants, beneficiaries and affiliated entities cannot participate in several proposals. Next slide, please. Some tips and tricks for a successful proposal. First of all, of course, please study carefully the documents that are relevant for this call. The call document describes everything in thorough detail. The questions and answers, so check the funding and tenders portal regularly because the questions and answers are published there. Get to know the templates and annexes. The funding and tenders portal also will display any changes to the call if applicable. So it is very good that you keep an eye on the from time to time on the funding and tenders portal. One tip is that you think and write like you put yourself in the shoes of an evaluator. So first of all, make sure to focus and address all award criteria and their elements, as your project will be assessed against those. Be sure to be specific. Be sure to explain the rationale well. Use quantifications, be clear, present, give sufficient details to present your planned work and tasks, and be consistent across the application. So inconsistency is also a source of confusion and can cost you points. Yes. Avoid abbreviations, acronyms, and write in a reader-friendly manner. Make sure to outline what makes your project special. Do not repeat what is in the call, but describe your specific impact and particular ideas. Check completeness of your proposal and remember about the annexes. I already mentioned several times. Do not forget the Annex 5 that you have to get the template from the EISMEA website. Submit your proposal early. Do not wait until the last minute because there can be, I don't know, issues with your annexes that you format that are not displayed correctly. So it's wise not to wait until the very last minute. Next slide, please. For the budget, please make sure that your budget is detailed and complete, that it reflects all the activities, all the deliverables as they are described in the proposal. Also, make sure that, yes, it's clear that how your project is cost effective, that all the budgetary items are necessary for the project execution. So it needs to be also the match between the part B, the technical proposal, and the detailed budget, consistency, but also a clear relevance and for the activities that you are proposing. Clearly describe the division of tasks and responsibilities between the partners in the consortium and what lies beyond your choices in that respect. Remember that you need, of course, to put everything that you are proposing into practice. So we are evaluating the proposals as they are. So write in the way that no further improvements can be made. In the grant agreement stage, we are only correcting clerical mistakes. Otherwise, your proposal cannot undergo any substantial changes later on. And please demonstrate ambitious but realistic goals in terms of impact that you would like to achieve. Next slide, please. Okay, there are some tips how you can find your partners. There is a database, a partner search database on the funding and tenders portal that you can use. Please also keep in mind another opportunity. This is the database of the Enterprise Europe Network. Also, I would suggest to you to go on the ECCP, the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. There is a map of clusters of previous projects. Can be interesting content for you to find partners and look for ideas. Include partners only upon their consent and consult. Think of consulting experience or former applicants. For the support, if you have any issues, there is an IT help desk that can support with anything that is IT related, passwords, access rights, technical aspects, if you have trouble to upload or download any templates. There is also an online manual how to apply this on the funding and tenders portal that is at your disposal. And any non-IT related questions, again, the email address you can send questions to. Questions have to be sent by the 26th of May, and they are published on the funding and tenders portal call page. There is a section question and answers. So the questions and the answers are published there. Next slide. So with this, I would like to end. Wish you all good luck. And take the opportunity today to clarify points that maybe you feel that you have questions on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martina, for this presentation and clarifying how the applicant should apply, what should be in the application, and how it should be submitted. As we do not have much time left for the questions, at the moment we will answer only 3 questions, and then the remaining ones will be left at the end. The first question, checking the eligibility, I believe UK organizations are not eligible for this funding. Is that right? How can UK entities be involved in this?
So unfortunately, UK didn't express the interest to participate in the single market program COSME Strand. So indeed, UK organizations are not eligible, and they cannot also be involved as beneficiaries or affiliated entities.
Next one, can we include FSTP or cascade funding in the budget?
No, FSTP is not part of this call for proposals, so it's not possible also. It's not foreseen to have an FSTP or cascade funding.
Another question, I would like to know if the project can be 12 or 24 months, or should it be exactly 36 months?
So the formulation is not exactly 36 months. It says, I think, I don't know what is
36 months, I think it says.
I think you can propose another duration, but you would have to justify this. Let me quickly see the correct formulation in the call. I think it says around 36 months. Are we looking? Yeah, I will look online. Give me 1 second.
In any case, 12 and 24 months are not allowed because the call clearly says if it is even around 36 months, it is not 12 and neither 24.
No.
We will come to this question after the next presenters because we are running out of the time. Thank you very much, Martina. We will come back to this question at the end. Let's move on. We are moving to the next presenters, to the colleagues from REA Central Validation Services, Maria Domenica Cugnidoro and Florin Puiu, who will explain how the participants need to be registered and how this is done from that point of view. Colleagues, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ramunas. Thank you and good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Domenica Cugnidoro from the Central Validation Service that is in the Research Agency of the European Commission. First of all, I would like to emphasize a concept that was already introduced by Martina in the previous presentation, and this is that in order to participate in a project in this context, your organization must first be registered in the participant register. And today, together with my colleague Florin, we are going to show you how to register your organization in the participant register and obtain your PIC, that is the participant identification code, the PIC. We will go through the validation process of your organization and the financial capacity assessment. Next slide, please. So we will first see how the central validation service works for your project participation. And then we will see we will touch all this concept here, the registration of participants, the legal validation and the year, how the communication is carried out, and the financial capacity assessment. Next slide, please. So in the central validation service, we verify the legal existence and legal status of the entities that are registered in participant register, and this is done with the support of specific supporting documents that we request to each participant. Then we validate the appointment of the legal entity appointed representative, that is the LEAR. We validate the legal changes of valid entities. We assess mergers, for example, in view to perform or not the universal takeovers, and we have many other tasks which are linked to the correct registration of each organization in the participant register. Next slide, please. So the validation process overview is a four-station process, and it starts with the registration of your organization in the participant register. So the first step is in your hands. Next slide, please. The registration of the organization is done in the participant register, and the participant register is in the funding and tenders portal. So you will find it there. Next slide, please. This is a print screen of the participant register, the part that requests you to register your organization. But first of all, it's important to check whether your organization is already registered in the system, has already a PIC number, the participant identification code. And this is possible by searching the name of your organization in this white rectangle. So it's a searching engine. You put the name of your organization and search whether your organization is already registered. If it's already registered, you need to use the registration of the organization with its PIC number. If not, you go a little bit down. There is this blue rectangle, and you click in Register your organization. Next slide, please. So this, by clicking here, a workflow of several steps will open, and you will be requested to include some information of your organization in the system. And for this, you will need some specific legal documents, because you will be asked to include the VAT number, for example, of your organization, registration number, of course, the legal name, and the other organizational data. Also, you need to sign yourself as authorized user, and also we suggest you to nominate other people to be your backup as self-registered. And at the end of this process, the registration is completed, and you will get a new participant identification code, the so-called PIC number, and it will be in a declared status. From this point on, we will, from the central validation service, we could request you the supported document anytime. Next slide, please. So it's important to underline the fact that the project proposal can be submitted with a declared PIC. So your PIC doesn't have to be valid at the beginning when you present your proposal. Then the registration data, and the second step, is verified by our services before the signature of the first grant agreement or contract in case of a project of procurement contracts. So the legal validation of a participant is done once. So once your PIC is valid, can be reused for future participation for EU-funded projects. And you don't have to do all these steps all over again. Once PIC is registered, it's reusable. It's important to say that the validation of each entity is based on the legal supporting documents that we request to you, and it is in accordance with the EU financial regulation and the rules of validation. Next slide, please. In this slide, you see the documents that we normally request for the validation of your entity in the participant register. Generally, is a recent registration extract for private law bodies, VAT extract, and then we have other documents for private law bodies or other kind of entities like international organization, etc. Next slide, please. Then, when the PIC is valid, it's mandatory that, the organization nominates a leader. Leader is the legal entity appointed representative. And who is the leader? Leader is a person authorized by the legal representative of the organization to represent the entity in the funding and tenders portal. And what are the roles and duties? They are explained in this slide. So the leader notifies the EU of changes of the legal data and legal status of the entity, submits legal and financial document when required, manage access rights of the persons in the organization, and then nominate account administrators. And we, from the Central Validation Service, suggest the leader to nominate more than one account administrators, because the account administrators are the backup of the leader. So in case the leader is not available, is on holiday, or leaves the entities, there is always one or more persons that can access the PIC. So for business continuity, it's very important. And then also the leader can nominate the individuals to be the contract signatories, like the L sign, or they can sign financial statement, the so-called F sign. Next slide, please. So this is a slide with the leader appointment document. We request the leader appointment letter. That is a document that is automatically generated by the system when the data of the leader is included in the system. So everything is done via the participant register. Then we request the official proof of identity of both the legal representative and the leader. And then we need also the proof of empowerment of the legal representative, because we need to make sure that the person signing as the legal representative that appoints the leader has actually the power of signature of the entity, so has the power of engaging the entity as a whole. Next slide, please. The communication with the Central Validation Service is exclusively managed via the participant register. So we don't use any other means of communication. And this is actually a print screen of the communication that you receive via email in case we, from the Central Validation Service, we need to communicate something to you. Next slide, please. Yeah, next. So, what happened if I have a PIC? I'm an organization, I have a PIC, and I lost access to my PIC. We underline two scenarios in this case. In case my PIC is non-valid, so it's not possible for me to regain access to the non-valid PIC. And this happens, for example, when a self-registrant left the organization and didn't nominate any backup. So it's not possible to access to the non-valid PIC, and a new PIC has to be created by the organization. And our service has to be informed, because we need to link all the non-valid PIC to the new one, because every organization has the right to have only one single PIC. Okay. In case my PIC is valid, then it's another story, because I can regain access to my valid PIC. And when does it happen? It happens when, for example, the leader is not available anymore, left the organization, and there are no account administrators that are the backup of the leader. In that case, in order to regain access to the PIC, you need to nominate a new leader, and this is done only via the LEAR recovery procedure. And you have the hyperlink here to the recovery procedure and also the explanation how to do it. Next slide, please. And now I will leave the floor to my colleague Florin for the financial capacity assessment part. Thank you very much for your attention.
Marika, thank you very much for your presentation and for introducing us into the universe of participant validation. My name is Florin Puiu. I'm one of those who evaluate the financial capacity of participants in granting procurement, so I might be one of those who will evaluate your entity's financial capacity. This presentation is very short. It lasts no more than 10 minutes, so please stay tuned. I will start this presentation in the next slide, and I will present about our legal basis. Our legal basis is composed by 3 documents. The first one tries to reply to the question why we have to implement and we have to conduct the financial capacity assessment. And that is because we try to understand if participants like you have enough sources of funding throughout the entire life of the action. This is mentioned in Articles 199 and 201 of the Financial Regulation 2024. The second document and the third one are, let's say, more technical because they explain what we do in case we need to implement the financial capacity assessment, we need to conduct this assessment, and what happens in case you receive a negative reply. For the last question, you will find answers in the call for proposals, which is specific to your action. As Martina Bacheva said, point 7, financial and operational capacity and exclusion. Please have a look at these 2 documents because they may reply to many of your questions. Now, in the next slides, we'll see who can be assessed financially. We don't assess all companies or all participants. We only assess those who request more than 60,000 euros and private entities. Public bodies are excluded by default, so we do not have to assess these companies from the financial point of view. We can also ask to assess the financial capacity of affiliated entities in case we discover that there are strong business relationships between your entity as a participant and other entities. In the next slide, we will see what documents we have to assess to conclude our assessment. The documents we are going to ask are the balance sheet and the profit and loss accounts. These are the main accounting documents and also accompanied by explanatory notes, if available. In some instances, we can ask the financial audit reports provided by an external auditor or a self-declaration on the accounts, just in case that the financial audit report is not compulsory. The obligativity to perform or to produce a financial audit report depends on the size of the business. It might be possible that in your country, your entity is not large enough, not big enough to produce a financial audit report. But in case you ask for more than 750,000 euros, we will need to have this assurance on the accounts. If you cannot provide us the financial audit reports, you provide us a self-declaration on the accounts, which is a template. You just have to fill some information over there and send it to us to the participant validation. All these documents have to be sent to us for the 2 most recent closed and approved financial years. In case you send us only for 1 year, we will have to send back the file to your level because we need to assess 2 years. All right? Please provide this information in the official language. You don't have to translate it if we talk about the EU languages. But in case your entity comes from a non-EU country, Turkey, Norway, whatever, please provide us a translation in English, because like that we can facilitate the process. You date and sign the documents and send them to us. And if you click one more time on the slide, we'll see that for newly incepted entities who have not yet reported the financial statements for the first time, obviously we cannot assess what happened in the past, but we can assess what will happen in the future. For that, please provide us the business plan with expected figures for the next year. And like that, we will be able to assess if your company will have enough sources of funding for the entire life of the action. One click again, please. And we see that once completed, this assessment is valid for 18 months from the closing date. What does that mean? It means that in case you want to apply for another action, we will not have to assess one more time the financial capacity, because the previous assessment is still valid for 18 months. So in this period, 18 months from the last period, we assess the financial capacity assessments. In the next slide, we will see what happens in the participant portal. As said earlier, all communication has to be conducted through the participant register. We cannot reply to phone calls, to emails, because every communication has to be put in a system for potential audit trails. Here, in the participant register, you have two dedicated tabs, the financial capacity and messages. And as seen in this screen, in the financial capacity tab, you have the big blue button, provide necessary financial information. You click on this button and you will be guided on steps on how to provide us this information. As regards the tab messages, the same. The website application is quite easy to follow it. You have the possibility to provide us information and messages, and we will reply to you only through the participant register. With that, we conclude the presentation for the financial capacity assessment. In the next slide, you will have a very short list of guidance documents. Here you have the rules on legal validation, the first link, how to register on the participant register, and so on. Please have a look. In case you have questions, you can address these to your project advisor. Thank you very much for that, and we expect questions to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria Domenica. Thank you very much, Florin. It looks like your presentation was very clear, very comprehensive, and we do not have any questions to you at the moment. So let's see, maybe something will come later at the final question and answer session. So thanks a lot for your presentations. And we move on to the next, the last presentation on financial provisions of the call for proposals, where we have Claire Merrick, who will do the presentation. And I think Ellen unfortunately got ill, therefore she will not be able to participate. Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Good morning. I'm Claire Merrick. I'm a financial officer in EISMEA. And indeed, unfortunately, my colleague Elena is not here today. She's on sick leave, but Clementine Panzanzilla replaces her today.
Welcome, Clementine. Thank you for stepping in.
So we will present you some guidelines on financial topics in order to help you in drafting the financial documents that are required for your proposals in the frame of this present call. So the financial documents needed for the submission of your proposal are the summarized budget table and the detailed budget table. The detailed budget table should be based on detailed, reasonable, and accurate estimated costs. It's a mandatory annex that has to be uploaded in the system. The amounts entered in the summarized budget table must correspond to the amounts that are calculated in the detailed budget table. If there are some discrepancies, the amounts in the summarized budget table will prevail, and no paper can be submitted, and all the submission must be done online. Next slide, please. The detailed budget table itself is composed by introductory pages that are not to be submitted. In the sheet 2 called Start, you should fill the project date and add the work packages. There are also 4 sheets in total that you should complete to create your detailed budget table. And this document should be submitted for each beneficiary, and it is to upload in a single PDF for each beneficiary in the system. The planned costs here are estimated costs, as I mentioned it before. Next slide, please. In the sheet 3, the detailed budget table is broken down by cost categories and work packages. For technical reasons, you will see that the number of Work package will always be the same in all categories. You should enter only eligible costs, list each item once, and list the costs in their main work package section. Next slide, please.
Good morning. The table here in sheet 4 represented the consolidated table per participant. And it represented the consolidated table per participant, and it's calculated automatically by the system. It showed the cost headings per work package. And the sheet 5 represent the consolidated table per project. And in this table, it's represent per project, and it's so the sheet 5 represented the consolidated table per project and needs to be assembled manually by the coordinator, and it shows also the cost per work package and per participant. Next slide, please. In the detailed budget table, this detailed budget table has to be presented per beneficiary, per work package, and per cost category. Personnel costs, subcontracting, purchase costs, other cost category, and indirect costs. And now Claire will present the next slides. In the next slide, each cost categories and project income.
Yes, so the first category of costs is the personal one. To be eligible, the personnel has to have employment contract with the beneficiary and to be assigned to the action. The related costs here are salaries, social security, contribution, taxes, and so on. You should enter monthly rates at that stage in your detailed budget table. And also keep in mind that this is an estimated budget. And it has to be based on historical data and needs to correspond to what appears on the payroll. Next slide, please. There can also be costs for SME owners and natural person without salary. And in that case, the cost is based on a unit cost per work day on the action. This unit cost has to be calculated following the information that you will find in Annex 2A of the grant agreement and the related amended Commission decision into force. The SME owner costs are calculated by multiplying this unit cost per the number of days worked on the action. Next slide, please. Here you can see in the template that you should fill also the columns that are on the right side and shortly describe the project tasks here. Next slide, please.
Another category of costs is the subcontracting related to implementation of specific tasks that are part of the action. Subcontraction works without the direct supervision of the beneficiary, and only a limited part of action can be subcontracted. For instance, coordination tasks cannot be subcontracted. You should ensure the best value for money principle if you plan subcontracting costs. And in the detailed budget table, you should add the name of the item, the foreseen cost, and as well a short description of the subcontracted activities. Next slide, please. Here in the application form, as you can see, you have to give details on subcontracted tasks and explanation of the reason why those tasks need to be subcontracted. And it has to be in the section of Annex 1, description of the action part B. Next slide, please. The category of purchase costs are contracts made to get goods, works, and services that are necessary to carry out the action. Those contracts do not cover the implementation of the task of the action, but the purchase itself is necessary to carry out the action. A simple example can be the purchase of a printer, for instance.
Okay, next slide, please. For travels, accommodation, and subsistence costs, the information to be provided in the description column is mandatory. In example, you should add the place of activity, the town of destination, the number of days of the mission, the number of persons, inform if they are speakers, personnel, or participants for whom costs will be covered, the transport means, etc. For travel unit costs, the calculations are made on the basis of the distance between the town of departure, which is normally the place of activity, and the town of arrival. And the distances are calculated through the website, Flight and Rail Calculator, that is specified in the call itself. Accommodation and subsistence rates are fixed per each country, as it is set in the related Commission decision. And if there are actual costs, you should confirm that they follow your internal travel policy and check that indeed no unit costs are provided in the related Commission decision to use. Next slide, please. So here you can see an example of how the template looks like for such travel costs. Next slide, please.
In terms of equipment, only the portion of the cost that correspond to the rate of the actual use during the duration of the action can be taken into account. Computer, software, and printer purchase costs are accepted only if they are necessary to implement specific or technical tasks, and they should duly describe it and justify in the Annex 1 technical description of the action part B. Otherwise, such costs are part of indirect costs category. So don't forget it. Next slide, please. Please make sure that for the other items, other costs, that they are listed in the correct, as you can see, subcategory, for instance, consumables, conferences, publication, and so on. You can see in this sheet. So you have to provide the detailed information in the description of task activity columns. It will help us to check all the costs. Next slide, please. Regarding indirect costs, that indirect costs are overrates, and they are calculated on basis of flat rate of 7%.
Next slide, please. Here we will talk about the project incomes that are basically the EU contribution, which is 90% of the costs in the present case, the revenues and contribution by third parties, with possible income, it's a possible income generated by the action, the contributions from third parties, and the own contribution of the beneficiary. In-kind contribution for free are allowed, but no cost can be declared. Next slide, please. Regarding the payments under the grant agreements, a pre-financing of 50% of the maximum grant amount is planned to start the work. It is usually paid within 30 days from the entry into force of the grant agreement. There is also one interim payment planned and the payment of the balance after 36 months of execution. All the payments are done to the coordinator. Next slide, please. We also have prepared a list of some important points to avoid mistakes when preparing your budget proposal. So, first of all, you should ensure that there are no discrepancies between the estimated budget in the portal and the detailed budget table. You should fill all the necessary details in the description fields in the detailed budget table. The staff effort in the portal should be coherent with the staff efforts in the detailed budget table. The SME owner staff efforts conversion from day equivalents into person month, it's called in the portal staff effort. The calculation is the number of days divided by 17.92 days. 1 person month equals to 17.92 days. You should avoid the discrepancies between subcontracting costs and descriptions in the detailed budget table and the subcontracting table that is in the description of the action in part B. You should ensure the split of travels, accommodation, and subsistence costs in the estimated budget. You should avoid incorrect unit costs used for travel, accommodation, and subsistence. And you should foresee costs for certificates on financial statements if the threshold of 325,000 euros of requested EU contribution per beneficiary is reached. That's all for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire and Clementine, for your presentation, for explaining us the financial aspects of the application process. Now we come up to the final question and answer session, as we went through all the applications, and we will try to answer as much as possible. In any case, all the questions that are asked during this session will be answered in the Q&A page. So do not be worried, everything will be there and nothing will be omitted, even if we will not be able to answer them now. Okay, first question, can you explain why this call is addressed to clusters only and why specialized startup accelerators cannot be eligible to coordinate? Martina, do we have such restriction?
No, so in fact, we don't have such a condition for the eligibility of the consortia. So coordinator can be any eligible organization, any beneficiary. It can be a cluster or another type of organization. So
thank you. Which technology readiness level is in scope?
I think Hélène is better
Hélène,
here.
what is the aim for which technology readiness level?
We have not defined that actually very precisely in the call. So this is also something which has to be explained in the methodology for the selection of the SMEs. What you should keep in mind is the final objective of having actually then those 10 SMEs are really finalizing their scale-up journey and being able to reach as far, let's say, TLA level as possible. I would say the ultimate one, because what we are looking at is actually to also use the pilot facilities. So it's not because we have only 3 SMEs which should, so 10 SMEs in total by project must get the full support. Let's not forget that the other ones which have been selected should also get individual support. Out of those, 3 SMEs as a minimum should also benefit from this full, let's say, support up to the level of the demonstration at industrial pilot industrial scale, that the products can actually be produced with the view then to eventually moving towards a real large industrial scale production. So we're already talking about TRL levels which are quite high, but that's up to the consortium to assess that, to see with also the duration of the project, which normally is 36 months, how long it would take to go from one to the other, and that has to be also presented in the methodology. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Ellen, you said that the partnerships is between cluster and SMEs, but can we include within the consortia SMEs and pilot plans? So I think it's Martina who would talk about this administrative requirement.
I can answer this. You heard in my presentation about who are eligible applicants. And indeed, an SME, if it fulfills the criteria that I was mentioning, is a legal entity, it's a private body, it has been established in one of the eligible countries, can become a beneficiary. Of course, you have to justify the participation. I mean, it has to be clear why this SME is on board and what is the specific role and task. The same goes for the pilot plans. If this is a legal entity, then it's an eligible beneficiary of the project. So.
If I can just complement on that, on the pilot plans. So the pilot plans, they can either be already part of the consortium, or eventually we should not forget that the mandatory activity 2.1 is building a network of partners. So eventually, because those pilot plans can be already funded by other EU projects or by national regional funding, or be also eventually subcontractors. And I think, Martina, you provided the explanations also the level of subcontracting which is allowed. So eventually there could also be additional partner, external collaborators, and which would be, then used. Thank you.
So all the options are possible, and of course they have to be justified by the activities. What to be keep in mind were the rules for the consortium that were the minimum rules, for instance, to have 2 clusters from like 3 minimum applicants, 2 clusters from 2 EU member states. So these are the consortium requirements, but also in the consortium composition, it clearly says any other relevant organization that is suitable for the implementation of the project, if it is an eligible organization, eligible participant is allowed to be included.
Okay, thank you, colleague, for the explanation. The next question, how a scale-up facility that providing scale-up services can participate? Unfortunately, we cannot comment on concrete project examples or concrete participation examples, because we will not be able to provide this service to all the potential applicants. Therefore, we cannot answer to this question. You need to look to the scope of the call, you need to look to the objectives of the call, to the eligible activities of the call, and then you need to think and to see how can you participate, what could be your role. We cannot provide you with the project ideas because the ideas must come from you, not from us. I would like to know if the project can...
If I can
yes,
just complement on that, I would just like to remind what is written in the call. So it says, so access to pilot and demonstration facilities with appropriate fermentation and downstream processing equipment is expected when necessary to enable the scale-up activities. SMEs may access such facilities irrespective of their country of establishment. So I think that's something important to keep in mind, because the most also adequate scaling up pilot facilities might not necessarily be in the vicinity, including by traveling to facilities located in other member states. Where appropriate, such facilities may be provided by entities outside the consortium, which I just explained before. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for this clarification. Martina, we are back to the duration.
Yes, so the duration. So duration of 36 months is foreseen for a proper implementation of the projects, for the all envisaged activities, and to reach basically the expected impact towards the objectives of the call. So it's 36 months foreseen duration.
Okay, thank you for this clarification. The next question is for our financial colleagues. Claire, why are audit costs for CFS not foreseen? They are eligible. Are they eligible costs? Can you please first decode this acronym for those who are not who hear about it for the first time?
Yes, indeed. These costs are eligible, but depending on the type of action and the size of the grant amount and the type of beneficiaries. So it is in the call. The beneficiaries can be requested to submit different certificates, and it will be written. All the information will be available, let's say, in the data sheet during the grant agreement preparation, where you will see if the threshold of 325,000 is reached or not. So it depends really on the size of the grant amount, of your grant amount.
And CFS stands for?
It's Certificate for Financial Statements.
And basically every beneficiary that has a grant above 325,000 will be requested to submit it.
Yes.
Right.
Indeed.
This is the case.
Indeed.
Thank you very much for this clarification. Martina, which is the difference between the cluster network and cluster?
Okay, so as mentioned, the cluster is basically supporting, it's building an ecosystem to support innovation in a region, and mostly also serving SMEs, but having outreach on all different type of actors in the region. And the cluster network is a network of clusters. So basically this can be sectoral cluster networks, international or national cluster networks that provide the opportunity for clusters to network with peers.
Okay, thank you very much. What is the expectation regarding co-funding? The expectation is very simple. You have to spend 100%. From this 100%, we will cover 90% of eligible costs. And the rest, as financial colleagues were mentioning, you either do via co-funding, via your own resources, via other types of funding, excluding the EU funding. The only restriction which we have, the co-funding cannot be provided by other EU funding means, because this would be considered as double funding. Next one, disappeared somehow. How do you expect this virtual cluster to compete with Asian and US fully funded permanent clusters, which call that this time limited is 90% funded? Are there other complementary funding opportunities? At the moment, at least from DG Grow and from our agency, we do not have any other funding opportunities for this type of activity. And as I mentioned, we encourage to attract other types of funding as well, be it private funding, be it self-funding, etc. If a non-profit organization joins, is the funding only 90% as well? Can the remaining 10% gap be funded via other funding means, co-funding? Yes, as I mentioned, we don't distinguish whether it is for profit or non-profit. it's really up to you to find this 10%, how you will balance the budget of the project. What's the definition of SME? Are startups also considered SMEs? Florin.
Just a second, I'm here. I need to connect to the video and to the microphone. So as regards the SME definition, please refer to the recommendation 361 from 2003, the recommendation by the Commission, because if a company is a startup, it doesn't mean that automatically it's an SME. When we assess the status of an SME of a company, we have to assess it in aggregation with other entities which are affiliated to this company. It may be possible to start a company, it's a startup, but if it is owned by a large entity, large size entity, your new startup might not fall under these thresholds of an SME. But in principle, please have a look at the turnover, total assets, and number of headcounts of employees reported for the entire year. Please have a look on the recommendation 361, 2003.
Okay, thanks a lot. We will publish the link to this recommendation later. But yes.
Maybe I could just add that online there is also a self-assessment tools where you can check whether you comply with this threshold set. So if you type a self-assessment tool and you see definition of SMEs, you will get it.
But we do not have the requirement of eligibility for the SMEs participation.
No.
Therefore, I think here is more question what we considered as SMEs toward the KPIs. And Ellen, I have a question to you. Startups are also within the scope of the political priorities that you set up in the call.
Absolutely, because the idea is that you will have companies which are other startups with innovative projects, and that they will be accompanied on their scaling up journey. So yes, but as explained, why do we focus on real SMEs, if I may say so, which are not part of a very large organization, let's say umbrella? It's because if you have a startup which is a sub-entity of a very big, large-scale multinational, of course, this startup will benefit from the support from its mother company in terms of technological support, eventually, pilot facilities, testing on some of the industrial scale existing facilities, and also the legal support. So there we do not see much of a gap in terms of having to support the scaling up and the regulatory also steps of those specific companies. Thank you.
And then can I say that in a way we are looking for the potential new European unicorns that would grow out of this project?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Do pilot facilities join a consortium member or the wider network of partners, collaborators? I think Elena and Martina already replied to this question. Either way, depending on the methodology of the project. Should we only define a selection process for the SMEs supported, or should we have already identified SMEs in the proposal submitted? I think, Martina, it depends on the methodology, right?
Look, I mean, I think there is no requirement that you already identify SMEs in your proposal. If you have, or if you have any ideas or examples, then why not mentioning it? It can be always interesting and show that you already have mapped to a certain extent the SMEs, but it's not a requirement. So this will be really up to you to if you wish to go into this level of detail. Otherwise, defining, of course, the selection process for SMEs, I would say, is a very wise thing to get points, because you need to demonstrate that you have already done some reflection on how this is going to take place. So this is kind of a good advice, definitely as a minimum basis, but to come already with predefined SMEs is not a requirement.
It would be eligible activity in the project to select the most appropriate SMEs,
exactly.
right?
Yes. It is a mandatory activity. Yes. So I think it makes sense that to define the scope of the proposal and what you have in mind and where you will be going, you would already see that there are a number of SMEs in the different clusters of the consortium which have a potential. But what we want to see is a clear methodology as to how to select the most promising ones, and also an outreach strategy that is also, yes, calling and inviting other SMEs to eventually apply, so that at the end you will be able to support the most promising ones. So, but while we have this limit of the full support for 10 SMEs, as I have highlighted, also for the other SMEs which would be pre-selected, you should also provide some individual support. And of course, you can go beyond supporting 10 SMEs. It's only that with the funding which is available, we calculated that realistically, it would be better to focus that on around 10 SMEs so that they can actually, yes, be accompanied as far as possible in their scaling up journey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are not a cluster to date and have applied to a CCP. We can apply to the call before being approved by the CCP. What if we are finally not elected as a cluster? Martina.
I would say there are several aspects in this question. So you say you are not a cluster and you have applied to the CCP, so you are not going to be validated as one. I'm not sure to understand this. So you need to fulfill the minimum requirements. You need 2 clusters in the consortium that are based in EU countries. These 2 clusters have to be either already on ECCP or have to apply to the ECCP before the deadline of the call. What else we can say
So
here?
Martina, in order to be able to apply,
Yes,
it is sufficient to be registered for cluster in the ECCP, right?
exactly. It's sufficient to have asked for registration.
Okay, thank you. How can we justify via biotech cluster with more than 3 years experience supporting biotech SMEs? Martina.
This is done in the Annex 5, so there is a specific section that is asking to outline this 3 years experience of supporting biotech SMEs. The Annex 5 will be the crucial document to demonstrate this.
Okay, thank you. I think the next question is, yeah, it's about the concrete case. At our company, we do fermentation to produce microbes for sustainable agriculture. Is that considered beyond traditional applications? As I mentioned before, we cannot really comment on concrete project examples. Therefore, it's really up to you to look at what Hélène was presenting and to see how your scope, how your activities are fitting to the scope of the call. It's really up to you to decide and then describe in the project proposal how you are fitting, and then we will evaluate that. Martina, how many projects will be funded? 2 each of 1.5 million, or there is something else?
No, we expect to fund 2 projects. That's the expectation indeed.
What kind of structures are eligible for this call? Martina.
So this is again the eligibility. So any type of legal entity, is it public or private, is eligible. And it has to be established in the countries that are participating in the single market program COSME-2026.
And the minimum consortium composition, can you please repeat
the minimum
it again?
Consortium composition, again, so you need 3 applicants, 3 beneficiaries from at least 2 different eligible countries. And those to the minimum 3, this minimum requirement has to be at least 2 cluster organizations or cluster networks from 2 different EU member states.
Okay, thank you. The in-kind support to the SMEs, how it is provided as subcontracting of the project partners. I think here we need to clarify one thing. The subcontracting of the project partners is not allowed, is not eligible. The subcontracting can be done only outside of the partnership and only for the activities which cannot be carried out by the partnership. Martina, can you answer the rest?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
The services, I think.
With the question, the in-kind support to the SMEs, how is provided?
Because the FSTP is not eligible,
Yes.
the partners are supposed to provide support to the SMEs via services. So
Exactly.
either,
So you can subcontract the services, either you provide them yourself, I mean the project partners, or you go for subcontracting.
okay, thank you. I think the next question Ellen has already answered. We can already skip it. Should cluster networks be legal entities with their own PIC numbers? Martina.
So again, cluster networks, any type of organization that wants to receive funding has to have a legal entity with an own PIC number.
So
and I hope that
everyone has to be legal entity
yes,
in order to participate in the project.
Registered with a PIC number.
Exactly. I think we went through all the questions. I'm checking with the colleagues if we have anything else, but it seems that there are no more questions. We wait a minute or two for some additional questions if someone has any. In any case, I know that it was very intensive marathon of presentations. There is a lot of information to digest. You got quite a big amount of the information. If you have any questions concerning the call itself during the preparation of the application, you can always send a question to the email address which was at the end of the Martina's presentation, where we say where you can send all the non-technical questions. The same email address is also at the end of the call, where we indicate where you can send those questions. Be aware that the questions need to be submitted 1 week before the end of the call, before the deadline of the call. It seems that at the moment, everything is clear, everything was answered. I would like to thank to all the presenters very much. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for explaining to the potential applicants what is expected from the call, why this call is published now, and how to apply. A big thank you to all the colleagues who were behind for making it technically possible, to our communication team, to Paola, to Marta, who were helping us, also to Paula. So big thank you to everyone involved, and good luck with your applications. We expect the best ones, the best applications to assess, and then to find really the best ones of the best. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we will send you later on also actually the survey will appear now in order for us to improve for the future. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.